Chapter 1, Self-Awareness and Identity. Who am I, really? We don't become ourselves. We remember who we are. As you begin your reboot journey, the first and most important question isn't, what should I change? It's, who am I beneath it all? Without that awareness, every strategy, goal, habit, and protocol becomes mechanical. And mechanics without meaning are just another way to escape yourself. That's why this section of the book begins with something most people either rush through or ignore completely: self-awareness. We live in an age of information overload, but personal understanding deficit. We study the lives of others, analyze leaders, mimic the habits of successful people, yet we often remain strangers to the main character of our own life story. This chapter is not about giving you a label, introvert or INFJ or anything else. It's an invitation to explore yourself more deeply, more honestly, more authentically. Who am I? Is not a rhetorical question. Let's start with something simple but disruptive. Are you your name? Your job title? Your collection of habits you go through on autopilot every day? Most people answer, who are you, with a biography or a resume. But that's just the outer shell. Your true self lives deeper. Self-awareness is the ability to see yourself from the outside, without filters, without ego, without judgment. It's a mirror that reflects, not distorts. In psychology and neuroscience, self-awareness is now recognized as a core adaptive skill. It's the prerequisite for transformation. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. Identity is a code, not a label. We often confuse identity with roles, but being someone's son isn't the same as being yourself. Being a CEO isn't the same as being whole. Being an athlete isn't the same as being alive. Identity is like your internal software, the code that runs your life, how you respond to challenges, how you make decisions, how you see yourself in the world. This code is shaped by your experiences, traumas, and environment. And here's the good news: you can rewrite it. Character, not fixed, but fluid. You were likely taught that character is something you're born with, but science now tells us something different. Character is a set of adaptive patterns. Those patterns can be observed, and more importantly, they can be changed. My own journey started with something simple. I took a blank sheet of paper and wrote down everything I believed about myself. At first, I listed 7 things, but the longer I sat with it, the more I realized what I had written wasn't me. It was an image, a construct, a social mask, and that's when the real work began. Practical exercise, myself today. 1. Grab a notebook. Divide the page into 2 columns. 2, in the left column, list everything you believe is part of your identity: roles, habits, traits, fears, desires. 3, in the right column, mark each one with, this is truly me, or this was borrowed, imposed. 4, look at what's left under truly me. Now ask yourself, if this is all that remains, who am I really? Self-image and self-esteem, how identity is formed. We don't see ourselves as we are. We see ourselves as we were taught to see. In the previous section, we took the first crucial step. We asked the fundamental question, who am I? Maybe by now you've started looking beyond your resume, beyond roles and routines. Now it's time to explore a deeper layer. Where does your sense of self actually come from? Why do you believe you are the way you are? And here we meet one of the most powerful and often invisible forces shaping your life: your self-image. This is the inner mirror you look into every day. And if that mirror is distorted, your entire life becomes a reflection of that distortion. Self-image, the psychological map of your personality. Imagine you have an inner artist, a painter who has been sketching your portrait since childhood. But here's the thing: that artist isn't always you. Very often, this internal image is based on comments from adults: you're too emotional, be strong, you're lazy; reactions from others, applause or disapproval; comparisons with siblings, classmates, or influencers online. Over time, this portrait stops being just a painting. It becomes your reality, one you rarely question, even if it isn't true. Your self-image is a subjective story you keep telling yourself about yourself. Self-esteem, solid ground or a fragile trap? Self-esteem is your emotional relationship with that story. It can become a foundation when it's rooted in internal worth, a trap when it depends on external validation. Most people unconsciously build their self-esteem on the outside world. Am I good enough compared to others? This leads to constant competition, fear of not measuring up, and paradoxically, stagnation instead of growth. I realized this the hard way. After a major external success, I felt empty. My self-worth was like a trampoline, bouncing on the applause of others. But when the clapping stopped, I crashed. That's when I asked myself, can I be valuable simply because I exist? How identity is shaped. 3 sources of influence. 1. Family and early environment. What you heard in childhood planted the seeds of your beliefs. Even an offhand comment like, why can't you be more like your sister, can trigger a lifelong pattern of self-doubt. 2. Cultural programming. We're all born into a system of expectations. Who we should be, what success should look like, what role gender or background should play. It's a collective script so embedded, we often can't see it, because it's everywhere. 3. Personal history of choices. Thankfully, identity isn't just inheritance, it's also a living process. With every choice, you either reinforce an old version of yourself or begin creating a new one. Exercise. How do I know who I am? Try this short written reflection. 1. Write down 5 statements you often say about yourself. For example, I'm a perfectionist. I'm an introvert. I never finish things. 2. For each one, ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Who told me this? Is it true or is it just old programming? You'll be surprised how many of your truths are just other people's voices that you accidentally mistook for your own. Rebooting begins with revising your self-image. You can't upgrade your life if you keep clinging to an outdated version of yourself. This section was a turning point. You've started to see identity not as something vague or fixed, but as something shaped by real words, experiences, influences, and choices. And here's the most hopeful part. What was shaped can be reshaped. What was accepted as truth can be re-examined. Who you were isn't a limit, it's your launch pad. Inner dialogue. Becoming aware of your thoughts and beliefs. We don't live with what is. We live with what we tell ourselves about it. We've already explored how your self-image is formed and how it shapes your identity, but there's a deeper layer running constantly in the background. A stream so subtle and ever-present that we barely notice it. That stream is your inner dialogue, and within it lies the key to your transformation. Your inner voice, the most persistent conversation of your life. You wake up and it starts talking. Why didn't I go to bed earlier? No wonder I'm tired again. You glance in the mirror. Ugh, I really need to do something about how I look. You head to work. I'm already behind, and that report is still not done. This is your internal language, your ongoing self-talk. It can be your ally or your shadow. The more I studied my own emotional states, the more I realized it's not the event. It's the thought about the event that creates the feeling. Thoughts become beliefs. One thought on its own can come and go, but when repeated, it becomes a belief. For example, thought, I made a mistake. Repeated thought, I mess up a lot. Belief, I'm a failure. Beliefs become filters. We no longer see the world directly. We see it through the lens of what we believe about ourselves and life. Beliefs are often invisible, but deeply powerful. I was stunned when I tried something simple. I wrote down my thoughts during the day, just observed them, and I noticed a pattern. Most of them were repetitive, automatic, and toxic. I'm falling behind. I'm not ready. I'm not good enough. These weren't random thoughts. They were unconscious scripts that quietly dictated how I lived. And the worst part? I didn't even know they were there. How to notice your inner dialogue. Here's a simple practice. 1. Pause. Choose a random moment in your day and write down your thoughts, unfiltered. 2. Observe. Do you notice judgment, criticism, anxiety, doubt? 3. Ask, who is actually speaking? Me or someone from my past? Is this thought truly mine? Does it help me move forward? This one step pulls you out of thought autopilot, and awareness is always the first step to transformation. Recognizing inner narratives. It's not just isolated thoughts, it's the stories we keep replaying. I must always be perfect. The world is dangerous. I have to stay in control. No one will notice me unless I prove my worth. These aren't just thoughts, they're life scripts that shape your emotions, decisions, and habits. And these are the scripts we'll begin rewriting as the book continues. Awareness, suppression. It's important to understand the goal isn't to banish negative thoughts. They're part of you. But you can notice them, name them, and then choose whether to believe them or not. It's like sitting in the theater of your mind. Thoughts are the actors, but you're the audience. You get to decide who gets a standing ovation and who simply exits the stage. Rebooting begins with choosing new words. There is a space inside you. In that space, the mind grows quiet and the truth begins to speak. The less noise, the more you can hear your real self.